gosh.
All right, Gabrielle.
Yes.
Gabrielle, where are you from originally?
Temecula, California.
Down south, by San Diego, kind of?
Yeah.
And tell me about your family growing up.
My family was pretty average, pretty normal. My parents split up when I was around 6 or 7. Wasn't anything traumatic or crazy. They just weren't a good fit. Still had good relationships with both of them. Yeah, my childhood was pretty average, I guess. Didn't really do anything. Wasn't too extravagant.
You made it through school?
Yes, I graduated high school.
And what did you do after that?
I ended up going to 2 years of school, but college was not for me. It never was. I wanted to do it because my dad wanted me to have a degree. So I ended up dropping out and leaving and then pursuing what I actually wanted to do, which is tattooing.
Oh, is that right? So your childhood was good?
Mm-hmm.
No terrible
No, nothing crazy. It was pretty average up until like high school time, and then high school got a little wild, but it wasn't home that was crazy. It was school that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And friendships.
And you've had some interesting relationships, it sounds like.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, in high school when I first started, when I was 14 or 15, I met a girl there who became my best friend, and I went to private schools my whole life. So I went to Christian schools and Catholic schools. This was at a Christian private school. I met her. We became best friends, hung out every day. I used to go to her house after school because my mom worked late, so my mom would pick me up from there. Her mom was a meth addict, or is, I don't know, I don't talk to them anymore, was a meth addict for about 25 years at that point. Became best friends with that family. Her house was in shambles. It was horrifying. They didn't have windows, didn't have doors. I don't know. We ended up both being trafficked for a little bit from her mom, and then the girl got expelled from our school, so I never saw her again. Last I heard, she was a woman of the night, prostituting herself in Oklahoma, but I don't know anymore. Yeah, that relationship kind of fucked me up for a little bit, and then I got over it. High school was pretty normal, and then my senior year, I met my ex-boyfriend. His name was Jesse. Well, I thought his name was Jesse. His name was not Jesse. We met, I was 17. We met in September, October of 2016. Yeah. And then we were together until I was about almost 19. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
What kind of things happened?
Well.
How did it start? How did it start?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. How did it start? So we met through family tree. Hold on. My best friend at the time, her name was Justine. She was dating this kid named Landon, and Jesse was Landon's roommate. So he lived with Landon. Landon was our age. He was 16, 17. Justine was also 17, and Jesse was 21 or 22 at the time. So red flag number 1, he was 21 or 22 dating a 17-year-old. I didn't see the red flag at the time, but I see it now as a 22-year-old. I would never date a 17-year-old. But it started, he would come to school plays and things of the sort with Landon to go support our friend Justine. So I met him mutually. We started hanging out, and then we got into a relationship pretty quickly, maybe like a month after meeting and talking. Yeah.
And it started out smoothly?
Yeah, it started out pretty okay. It was my first relationship, so I didn't really have a basis of what I liked and what I didn't like, or what was normal and what wasn't normal. So it started pretty normally, and then about like 5 or 6 months in, it started to spiral. He started telling me of these delusions that he was having, that he thought he was God, and he thought he was the devil at the same time, and he thought he knew how the world was going to end. And he thought that I was going to be a part of it, and I was some priestess from a different life trying to contact him. I don't know, some weird spiritual shit that became delusions that he believed. He moved in with my mom and I in Marietta about, I want to say 8 months into dating. It wasn't a definite like, oh, like, do you want to come live with us? It was, he would stay with us for weekends. I would pick him up because he lived kind of far. So I would go pick him up. He didn't have a car. He didn't drive. He didn't have a license. Red flag number 2. But I would go pick him up from his mom's house, and then he would come to our house and stay for like a weekend, Friday through Sunday or Monday morning, and then I would drive him back. And then over the course of those like 8 months, he started to just stay longer durations of time. And then he just slowly moved in. So it wasn't the healthiest way to go about it. And I definitely wouldn't have anybody living with my parents now. But those delusions kept progressing. They kept progressively getting worse. I used to do photography for musicians and bands and such. And he would come with me to shows. And we would drive home at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, early. Nobody's on the road unless they're, commuting to work. And we would drive home, and there'd be like 1 or 2 cars on the road far behind us. And he would look at me seriously and say, you know why these people are following me? They know what I am. They know what I'm capable of. They know who I am. Delusions. And I would have to sit in the car and kind of agree just in case I didn't want him to like crash. But yeah, these delusions kept progressing. It was hard. It was hard to watch someone like that you love so dearly deteriorate into their own mind. But he started cheating on me early on in the relationship, about a year in, and continued. I would catch him cheating all the time. It was, as far as I know, it was only physical with a girl twice, maybe. But a lot of it was through social media and Facebook and email, surprisingly. But I would catch him cheating and catch these women that he's talking to and sexting or just talking to, and it just didn't sit right with me. And I would catch him, and I would show him the messages, and he would make me feel crazy and like it was my fault, and cry and scream, and he would freak out, say that he was going to kill himself, and then everything was magically okay. But yeah, those delusions ended up getting sort of the best of him. He threatened at some point to kill me, kill himself, kill his family. He got 5150'd and was held in a hold for, it was going to be 72 hours, like the standard hold, and then it became like 3 weeks. The entire time his family was talking to me, they had no idea I existed. I was a secret, and that was already like a year and a half, almost 2 years into our relationship.
Red flag number 3.
Big red flag. It's a banner. Red banner number 3. I was a secret. He said he kept me secret because of my age. Fair enough, I guess. I had just turned 18 shortly after I graduated high school that year. So
you can justify anything.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself justifying a lot of his behavior?
Yes,
finding
100%.
Excuses for it?
100%. There was a part of me that just wanted to like fix it and fix him and make it better. Because a part of me, saw his delusions and realized, well, he can't control it, so it's not really his fault. He can't, they're involuntary. What he's feeling is involuntary, and he fully believes it. He's immersed in it. He hears it. He sees it. It's real to him. So I don't know. I definitely justified it And then when he was in the hospital, he was put on medication. He was diagnosed with severe paranoid schizophrenia and depression and a few other things. But the schizophrenia was the main problem.
I think that
Yeah.
early 20s is the right age for that too.
I think so, yeah. I think it started showing up for him, I'm guessing earlier for sure, like late teenager, maybe like 16, 17. But his family didn't really put effort into caring for that. He definitely showed symptoms and signs from the stories that he would tell me, what his friends would tell me. When he was 21 or 20, before we even knew each other, he had a delusion at his friend's house. They were drinking, he was super drunk, and then he ended up having sex with his friend's 14-year-old sister. And I found that out about a year and a half into the relationship when he was in the hold. His family told me. Red flag number 5. He had sex with a 14-year-old. Yeah, that was traumatizing. That was horrible to hear. But for some unknown reason, I still justified it. Yeah, in the hospital, he was okay. I would go visit him with my mom. I would go visit him with his mom once they found out about me. And he was pretty okay. He wouldn't really say anything outlandish. He seemed to be acting docile and okay. But as soon as he was discharged, he came back to live with me and my mom. And I had him on his medications. I would give it to him when he needed to, like a stay-at-home nurse. A whole 18-year-old was a nurse. And he ended up one day just going cold turkey, and he stopped and he went nuts. He ended up putting his hands on me multiple times, continuously cheating, making me feel crazy. He would have sex with me in my sleep. So he would rape me. That was my first experience with sex. We waited until I was 18, and then he would do it in my sleep. And then, I would call him out on it, and he would just tell me that this is what a relationship is. We were supposed to have sex, and this was normal, and that's just what he liked. I guess unconscious girls. It was super dehumanizing, but yeah, I don't know. I would wake up in the morning and he would be staring over me sometimes, and he would try to tell me that I was doing something sexual in my sleep to myself. That's why he did it to me, like touching myself or something, and I definitely wasn't. You would know, I would know. So he would try to justify it, which made me feel crazy for calling rape on my boyfriend. So I never said anything. And as we kept going, it just got worse.
And this relationship lasted how long?
I think it was like about almost 3 years, just shy of 3 years.
And by the point you're describing now, what was your mindset with everything? I don't know. Were you still in love and just like,
I don't know. I think I was in love. No. No. I don't know. I don't know if it even was love, to be honest, because I've been in love since, and it didn't feel like that, and it wasn't like that at all. I don't know if it was just a comfort thing. Someone was there. That was your first relationship, and then I was comfortable with him. He moved in. I think I just felt comfortable, and I got too comfortable, and I allowed it, all of it. I later on found out that his name wasn't really Jesse. His name was Jesus. His last name is Hall. His last name in real life is not Hall. So he lied to me about his name. I found out through his birth mom. Once I confronted him about that, we went to go meet his birth mom. And she is a meth addict. She's on the streets in West Covina. Sweet woman, but a slave to meth. I don't know if like schizophrenia runs in their family. I don't know if it's a genetic thing or if it's hereditary. I don't know how it all works. But she used to have delusions and think that she was some spiritual being and see things and hear things. I don't know if that was the meth or if that was schizophrenia or if that was both. But it definitely was there for both of them. They both believe the same things. So we used to stay with her sometimes and like hang out with her for the day. Really awkward, really weird. She just constantly asked for money. Couldn't find a stable job, couldn't find a stable home, in and out of rooms. Yeah, it was a weird realization that he lied to me about his life, basically. But again, I justified it because I thought, who would want to tell their girlfriend that their mom is a meth addict? Yeah. So, yeah.
So what happened with this relationship in the end?
Well, so my mom and I had moved from Marietta to Menifee. We moved into a smaller home and Jesse came with us. So we had moved. Everything was wasn't going okay, but it was going about the same. Nothing had changed drastically, good or bad. He had given me a promise ring the Christmas before we had moved, whatever. And he was so sad that we were going to get married in like the following year. It was super strange. It was really fast. He had never mentioned any interest of marriage until that moment. So I had gotten my first job at that point. I was 18, my first job. I was working at Hot Topic in our mall, and it was a seasonal job. It was like Christmas time, or Thanksgiving time. And he used to follow me to work. Like, I had a car, he didn't have a car, so he would force me to drive us both to my job, and he would wait around and make sure that I wasn't talking to anybody, make sure that I wasn't interacting with any of my male coworkers. If I didn't go with him to work, I would come home and he would tell me that I smelled like I had had sex with someone. Like, I guess the musk that you have when you have sex told me that that's what I smelled like all the time, no matter what. So he just assumed that I was just a whore, having sex with everybody that I met, my coworkers, customers, whoever. So I got tired of it. He started coming with me to work. I had met my best friend at the time. His name was Mason. And this kid, Jesse, had isolated me from everybody. So I had like no friends. So going to work was my one getaway to go talk to other people besides him and my mom. So I met this kid named Mason, and we were inseparable. We were best friends. We liked the same music. We liked the same things. His humor was contagious. It was an awesome relationship. Great kid. He's still a great kid. And we met, hung out all the time. And then Jesse started having an extreme problem. And then having someone like Mason who was so healthy in his understanding, and he was an outsider. He wasn't in my relationship, so he could kind of see what was wrong and tell me like, hey, this isn't normal. Because my mom wasn't telling me that. So, Mason would tell me like, this isn't normal. I would tell him when Jesse would hit me, when Jesse would assault me, when he would berate me. I would send him screenshots of our messages so he would see the way Jesse would talk to me. And he was like, hey, this isn't normal. So one day, Mason and I went after work to go get coffee. We went to like a Starbucks. And we were sitting across from each other at the table outside. And Jesse texted me and he said, I know what you're doing. And I was like, what am I doing? And I told him, I sent him a picture of Mason over here and our drinks, whatever. And he was like, I know you're fucking Mason in his car. I know you're sucking his dick, blah, 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 etc., getting graphic. And I told him, that's not what I'm doing. I don't know what you're thinking. Like, it's really not what I'm doing. I'm not interested in him like that. We're just friends. And then he told me, he was like, I can see you. And I told him, well, how do you see me? You don't have a car. How could you get here? My car is here. Mason's car is here. I don't know how you think you could come and see me. And he told me that he stole my mom's car. He said that he had stolen my mom's keys, stolen my mom's car, and he's around the corner and he can see us. And I told him that I'm going to call the police, that I know he didn't steal my mom's car. I had called my mom. Her car was still home. He was still home. So that was sort of the breaking point. I knew at that point, like, it was like a switch. I looked at Mason and I knew that this is like how I had to leave. And I had to create like a plan to leave, which is dumb because he lived with me, but I had to create a plan to leave without him knowing, because God knows if he knew that I was planning to leave, he would have done something. So I got Mason familiar with my family. My family loved him. My mom and my dad loved him. So he became an integral part of the escaping. I would text Jesse and tell him I'm going to a friend's house. I would go to Mason's house and I would bring some stuff with me, and I would kind of stay, and I would have fights with Jesse and kind of detach and tell him, like, we're done, I'm over it. But I couldn't do it in person because he would have probably killed me. So I'd kind of have to do it away from him and everyone else. But he couldn't know where I was at, because I didn't want to put Mason and his family in danger. So at one point, I was with Mason in my car, and Jesse had called me, and he was going on some delusion about me being the reason the world was going to end, and he's the devil, and this is why nothing in his life works out. Whatever. The voices were talking to him. I had contacted his mom, his real mom, his birth mom, and then I had contacted the mom that he was staying with. Told them what was happening, sent them screenshots. They didn't care. His birth mom was feeding into the delusions. So at that point, I sucked it up. I went home, and the next day I went on his PlayStation, and I found out that he was cheating again, and that was it. I grabbed his PlayStation and I went to my backyard and I smashed it on the ground, and I took all his shit and I put it in trash bags and I put it all on my driveway. And I called his friend Carla to come pick him up, and she did. I had already smashed his phone prior to this, so he didn't really have much. He had a laptop, and that's how he would communicate with me, through Facebook.
Were you afraid for yourself?
I was very afraid. Yeah, I was afraid. I was more afraid for my mom, because she didn't deserve to deal with that. But I brought crazy into her home. About a month or two later, about 2 months later, when everything was said and done, Jesse had left. I hadn't had contact with him in that amount of time. I had changed my number. I had done everything I could to get away from him. Mason and I kind of started talking, like very casual dating, whatever. Jesse had found out. I don't know how. I think through social media. I think he found Mason's Instagram and saw that Mason had posted a picture of us. So at that point, Jesse had contacted me again through social media, through a burner account that he had made, saying that he needed to come pick something up from my house that he had left when I threw him out. So he had come. He came to my mom's house, picked me up, or not picked me up. He came to my mom's house, knocked on the door. I opened the door, and he was in a white button-down shirt and slacks. It looked like he was going to go to a wedding. I think that was what he needed. I think he needed a suit. He was in white button-down slacks, nice shoes, and his sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. And he was bleeding he had cut himself from like here to here, just straight down, planning to end it all. He had cut himself, and he was bleeding at the door. And I knew he just wanted sympathy. So I had zero sympathy left for him. I didn't give a shit. So I went inside, I grabbed the suit that he needed, and I brought it back out to him and shut the door in his face, and that was it. And he left. And a few months later, I had heard from him again, just kind of threatening me from different accounts. He would make different Instagram accounts and try and find me and threaten me and call me a whore and whatever. But yeah, that was a long 2.5-year relationship at a really young age.
You're lucky to have gotten out of it.
Yeah, I don't think I would have if I had stayed even a month longer. He was getting really erratic. He was getting more frequent.
Where is he today, or what happened after that?
I don't know. Last I know, he moved to Nevada with his friends. I had messaged his dad, who is not his birth dad, but I think it's his uncle who raised him. I messaged him on Facebook, and I had told him maybe in July, this past July, I had messaged him and told him everything that had happened and said, hey, like, I'm getting help, but I want you to know that, like, Jesse did these things. I don't know if he has a girlfriend right now, but I feel like he should not have a girlfriend. And his dad just kind of said, oh, okay, and then ignored it. So I think Jesse is in Nevada. He is excused for all he does. Nobody holds him accountable. So, yeah.
What lessons have you learned from this?
To not trust anybody. For a long time, I just didn't want to trust anybody. Even now, it's hard. I have learned that once there's one red flag, to dip, because after the 5th red banner, it's overwhelming.
There shouldn't be any red flags.
Yeah, no, especially not like that.
Make excuses for these people.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had a friend at the time too. I was 17 and she was 15, and her name was Fable. And we used to hang out like every few days, every weekend. And I introduced her to Jesse, and Jesse said that he really liked her, like romantically liked her. Should have been another red flag because she was 15. But yeah, that whole relationship was a big mistake. And if I could go back and do it all again, I would.
You would?
I would. I would go back to high school and put myself through that to just not.
Oh, and not get involved with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To ignore him, delete him, block him, just never see him again. That'd be great.
Are you behaving? Are you avoiding those kind of red flags in other relationships you've had?
I think so. I think I'm doing a better job at regulating the red flag basis. For the few years between that relationship and the one I'm in now, I was a mess. I was everywhere. I definitely was looking for red flags. Something, even now in the relationship I'm in, it's very normal and calm. And something I look for is chaos, because I was so used to that and it felt normal. So I have to dial it back now. And
you're still young yet. How old are you?
I'm 22.
22.
Yeah.
You're still a kid.
I am. But 22.
You learned a hard lesson at a young age.
Yeah, really hard lesson. A really, really painful, long-lasting lesson.
Yeah, a first relationship shouldn't be like that.
No, I was a hopeless romantic. I wanted my first relationship to be it. You know, high school sweethearts, but quite the opposite. Quite the opposite.
All right, Gabrielle, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope that never happens to you again.
You know, me too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.